Rabbi Chris and Lumen here. This is my third time trying to shoot this video. It's the third time because things hadn't finished playing out, so I didn't have like the full grasp of what it is that, she was wanting to show me, which was totally not what I expected. Very interesting. But yeah, I didn't do a video yesterday because I was knocked out of whack by something, which I'll explain in a minute. It took me a while to get myself put back together, but Sophia had me doing something which was very unusual, and it actually led somewhere to having a little bit of a realization. So yeah, we're going to jump into this. So if you want to know more, don't go away. So I'll try and keep this as brief as possible because it can ramble on. But keep in mind everything that we've already talked about on this channel about the world that you live in, how it works, authority, manipulation, and all that crap. So the other night I watched the presidential debate, which is, I don't usually watch mainstream media type stuff, and I thought it was pretty nuts. But then that night I didn't sleep good. The next day, like, my body was all bloated. I had this crazy headache. I'm like, what the hell is going on with my energy? Oh, okay. So this has happened several times before. Every once in a while, you have these big instances, or sometimes they're smaller. Either which way, they're like these trigger points. Either they create the trigger point, or it's like a scheduled trigger point where like everybody's watching and they do something. I don't know what. I've talked about it in the past, like when the COVID toilet paper panic started and I walked outside and I could sense, like, what the heck is that? It's like something was broadcasting this fear signal. Sleep. 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 So I went in and put on some shielding stuff, and then I didn't notice it. Took it off, went back out, then I noticed it again. Other big points would be like the George Floyd thing, the Russia-Ukraine thing. Something happened where there was a little bit of something extra thrown in there that was just ramping up whatever the primary emotion was supposed to be. And like when they did the Russia-Ukraine thing, it was such a big shock wave, like it actually knocked me out of sync with Lumen for a minute. And I had to put her back in. Well, they did something like that last night, or the night before when they did the debate. So understand that, do not forget everything, like I said, we've said before. Whatever authority tells you is true, assume the opposite to be. All this stuff the media shows you is a puppet show to control you and manipulate you. Politics is by far the worst thing, the stickiest thing. It's freaking quicksand. You do not want to put political labels on yourself. Now, I lean right, but I do not put any labels on me. I'm not even registered to vote. I don't vote. She doesn't let me vote. Voting, what it actually is, on a higher spiritual level, is consent to be ruled, because they let you think that you're participating in the system. So by letting you participate in the system, you have to be ruled by whoever ends up winning. She's like, yeah, nothing is the way that you think it is. They're going to do what they're going to do. Everything's on a schedule. Everything is planned way ahead of time in advance. You think all this stuff is just happening randomly? No. No, especially like once we got to like the George W. Bush era, like the beginning of IPEC GOAT 2. But anyway, so they've specifically set things up once the early planet alignments that we've talked about before began to happen, and especially ramping up into 2016. That's when things really started to change. Once Trump got on the scene, we started to see things that I never saw before, like suddenly masses of people acting, thinking, and talking like a single organism. Orange man bad, must kill. Like, what? What was going on? I've never seen this before. And it's only gotten weirder ever since then. Like now, everybody is just whatever egregore they're plugged into. Like that's it. It's not like it used to be. Like in the old days, if you had some bad years, then whoever was the incumbent was held responsible for that, and they voted in the other guy. And we've been going back and forth like that since forever, until we entered this time frame. That's when it changed. Now it doesn't matter. It does not matter how good your life is in the world. What matters is like, what Borg are you plugged into? Trump is the most evil thing in the world. We must destroy him. We must keep him out of the office. Or it's the Democrats are the most evil thing in the world. We must keep them out of office. Like, it doesn't matter, like, what is actually going on in the world. People, like, I've never seen this before. I saw someone make a good point, and this is leading somewhere, where it's like this, what's interesting about this election is that both people have been in the White House. And it's a simple thing of like, which years was your life better? But people don't care about that now. Like, look, if you hate Trump, he's not going to stroll into your living room and sit on your couch and eat your food. You don't ever have to see him. Just quit looking at the freaking black mirror. It's the same thing with all this stuff. People, you know, the type of mind control that everybody is under has got your world too big. You're angry about people you've never met before, but the media has painted a picture of them in your head, either which way. Nobody's freaking perfect. I'll say that right up front. Just matters like, you know, when was your life better? But that's not the point. The point is, in this particular case, they knew everybody was going to be watching this debate. And they did something. I don't know what they did. I'm not going to pretend to know that I know what they did, but I've felt this before multiple times. It's some sort of trigger wave. And I can't say that I trust either side. I think they're all puppets on the stage. They're puppets on the stage so that we can play out these life experiences. There's just too much perfect coincidental stuff. Like what's the big thing today? What's the big thing yesterday? The cat meme. The immigrants in Springfield, Ohio are eating cats and dogs. Okay, well, let's talk about that for a sec, because I live in Columbus, an hour away from Springfield. One of my good friends lives in Springfield. So what's actually going on there is, yeah, they've dumped about 20,000 Haitian immigrants in there. They're wrecking cars all over the place. All sorts of craziness is going on. But what is confirmed, what I knew about before this meme even started, is they're like capturing protected waterfowl, like from the parks and stuff like that, the ponds, geese and ducks, and cooking them, eating them. I don't have any kind of information that's confirmable about pets. But that is not random, and I'll explain that in a sec. So she had me do something with that last night, and I didn't understand why she was doing it. It seemed very counterintuitive. Well, first, let me explain why I think this cat-dog meme exists. You got to think bigger. You got to remember what we talk about on here. you're in a particular place, in a particular experience, in a place that is full of illusion and backwards BS. Okay? It's to test you. It's to test you. And what they do is most people, I mean, it's not generally the people that would watch this channel, but most normal people are under some degree of mind control. Some of them are under a lot of mind control. It depends on how much they watch the TV and how much they believe the news. You can tell how bad it is just by listening to people. Like the people that think my side is lily white perfect, my side never lies. It's the other guys. They lie about everything. If you think that, you are probably on the far end of deep mind control, because that's just nuts. And you can tell by what people say and how they react, like how far down into it they are. But in regards to this, in this idea that I don't say that I know, because I don't, but I look at things, and I look at things critically as a Gnostic. These are all pre-chosen, pre-scripted characters in the story. We did a video. I'll see if I can find it. It would be this one, where a viewer actually handed me the keys to something that was hidden in iPet Goat 2 back from the July 15th timeframe that had to do with Trump, Kamala, and Joe Biden in the timing. They're written into the script. So those three were more encoded, whereas the earlier ones, Bush and Obama, were actually shown and seen in iPet Goat 2. Trump, Biden, and Kamala were more, you almost couldn't, you weren't able to see it until the assassination attempt took place, but they were there. But what supports the idea that all these people are just characters in the game, scripted characters for the storyline. First of all, the whole ear thing, like, come on. No matter what side you're on, something was very, very off about that. Like, I could tell when I saw it the first day. I'm like, what am I looking at here? Something about this doesn't feel right. But consider that behind the scenes, they're all just characters making the story happen, right? Okay, so that means left wing, right wing, same bird. The bird's a freaking vulture. I think that however it started, that the whole immigrants eating cats and dogs thing making it into that debate was not by accident. It was too crazy for it to be in there by accident. Yeah, people were talking about it, but you got to see the bigger picture here. It was a massive double-ended trigger, and I'll explain why. So we as humans are mostly desensitized to bad things happening to other people. Yeah, we still feel empathy and compassion and stuff like that, but it's not shocking. This began all the way back in, I want to say it was the Vietnam War, when the troops were just not very effective at being troops. They were having a hard time shooting at other human beings. So they developed silhouette targets, got them used to shooting at the shape of a person. And then the targets become more realistic. And then we move on through time. And we've watched hundreds upon thousands of hours of movies, action movies, of people shooting each other. Every kid has video games with first-person shooters. You could be blowing up aliens. You could be blowing up Nazis. It doesn't matter. You're shooting other people constantly, constantly. The desensitive, I won't say it was the first time I noticed it, but it became very apparent to me that we've been desensitized in the year 2000. What happened in the year 2000? Well, they re-released The Exorcist. into theaters. Now, those of you that are old enough might remember when The Exorcist was first introduced into the movie theaters back in the day, it was so shocking to people that people were like getting sick, throwing up, passing out in the movie theater, which happened again recently, mind you. They keep pushing the boundaries. So in recent years, there was a movie called Terrifier 2 that had that same effect, which that movie's nuts. I had to watch it out of curiosity. But when I saw The Exorcist in the theater in 2000, there were a bunch of like teenage kids in there watching it too, and they were laughing at it. They were laughing at it. That's how far we've been desensitized. But do you know where we're not desensitized at? With animals, and specifically pets, dogs and cats, because we love our furry companions. These animals are animated by spirit. They might not have souls, but they're animated by spirit, which means they're animated by her. That's why she generally gives, when she puts us on the hero's journey path and isolates us, she'll give us an animal. For me, she gave me Jinx, the black cat, just showed up one day. Been with me ever since. I've seen all sorts of videos on YouTube and Facebook about animals just doing the craziest, intelligent, compassionate things. Like they're so much more intelligent and empathetic than we give them credit for. It's kind of like in the second Avatar movie, the big giant whale things that they were killing, and they were explaining how developed they were. And they were far more creative and empathetic than humans or anyone was. Well, that's pets. So when a pet dies, people feel that as deeply as if a family member dies. We have a deep, deep bond connection to the pets. And that's why I think this story was injected. I haven't seen any ironclad evidence that it's actually happening. I've seen some stuff, but only1real hardcore proof that they're getting like the waterfowl. Okay, those are community pets, but you're not going to have a freaking emotional reaction to a dead duck like you would your cat or your dog. So what they've done is they have identified one of the most sensitive, untapped nerves that people have, which is their love for pets, and injected it into this story and then put it into a big spectacle for everyone to see. And it instantly triggered both sides. Although I would say that the left was more violently triggered, just from what I observed, screaming that it's all lies and it's Orange Man bad, making stuff up. But still, it trended. Really, it was like #1 and #2 trending when I checked it on X. Because true or not, it was tapping into something. It was tapping into a raw nerve that doesn't usually get tapped into. Because you kind of run out of ways to torture people. So this was like, if you think like an evil genius, this is perfect. Because it gets one side defensive about the pets and hating immigrants, which are mostly black, so you get to throw racism in there too. And then the other side gets to jump in on it because that's what they're going to say. And now you've just inflamed everybody at a raw level in a whole new way. And the online clashes were absolutely phenomenal. People were so triggered because they just keep falling for it. No matter how many times we tell people, or anyone explains that it's all a big puppet show, it's meant to manipulate you, a lot of people just cannot stay rooted in where we are. Like, we are not of the world, we are of the light. The entire world is the illusion we're trying to free ourselves from. It's always trying to manipulate you. You have to break yourself free of it. But all they got to do is show you something new and get you in your emotions. And if you take the bait and then you start looking for more, and then you see what the other side is saying, you get triggered too. They've now sucked you back in. And the problem with that is, when you get sucked into that particular quicksand, it pulls you really far away from the light. It makes it really, really hard to connect and feel spirit. It's a trap. It's a freaking trap. And people just keep falling for it. People that I see people that I work, I might not talk to them all in a while, but I still see them on Facebook and stuff like that. People that have actually connected to spirit, and they're still wrapped up in politics. They still think my side good, your side bad. That's how like politics, identity politics, id entity politics is the deepest, stickiest thing that can get you. And if you slap labels on yourself, I am a, you are going to get pulled into that groupthink. And that's the way you're going to see the world. It's a trap. It's a freaking trap. I don't know how many other ways I can say it, but it's a trap. But there's actually a bigger lesson in here that I did not freaking expect. So, like it was a very tricky lesson, because I could feel like the quicksand pulling. What was driving me nuts is the left side is just doing the usual thing. Orange man bad. Orange man said a thing, therefore thing not true. And everybody saying thing true is orange man bad, cult person. TV told us not true. We look no further because TV is God. It's like the whole thing was just, did they really think that far ahead with this debate prep? Oh, we're going to talk about immigration, so we better, there's this new, very fresh, newly emerging story out of Springfield, Ohio. So let's reach out and check with the city manager. Like, what the F is a city manager? Did we freaking quantum jump again? Did we get Mandela affected again? Do we not have like mayors and stuff anymore? What the hell is a city manager? But they reached out to the city manager and said, oh, there's no truth to that. How'd you have that bullet loaded in the barrel already? Did you just expect him to say that, so you did that ahead of time? Or is it much more likely that this is all operating on a big puppet show script that goes under the radar because no one's looking too closely? Trump is just being Trump, saying something. If he doesn't say one thing that shocks everybody at least once, like something's off. But that was the big flashpoint, and it triggered all the people that have deep emotional connections to the pets. So here's what happened. My friend that lives in Springfield. He actually just did a quick search and was able to pull a 911 call transcript where someone was reporting these Haitian immigrants. There was like 4 of them, and they all had a goose, and all this stuff was going on. Which that's all it was it was a 911 transcript, but it was an official record. And it did happen before all this took place. So it was traceable. It's just a piece of the puzzle. If everyone's actually trying to find the truth, then you got to look at what pieces of the puzzle that you have. So it was on Facebook. it would be someone would post one of the, don't eat me cat memes or something like this. And then it would mostly be the left. And they were just like, they had the venom dial turned up to 13. Trumpers making up stuff. It's not true. It's like, whoa, what in the F is going on here? This is crazy. It was nuts. But, I'm thinking logically as a Gnostic that doesn't have a triggerable ego. But it's like, look, I can watch a conversation and just point everything out, like, and show you, detail you how you're projecting things that are all in your imagination. You don't actually know anything, but you've convinced yourself that you do. You didn't check anything out. You didn't go there. You didn't pull any documents. You didn't do anything. But someone on your side said it was debunked or it was a lie, and then you ran with that. That's what they do. Like, truth is like whatever people want to decide that it is. So what I did, not knowing why I was doing it at the time, I mean, the old school mischievous side of me just kind of like, I haven't stirred the pot in so long. I just want to touch it. I just want to touch it. But she was actually guiding me to do it. It would just take a while to find out why. So people kept saying, show me some evidence, show me some evidence. So in a couple different threads, I popped down this image that was it was the 2 pages that my friend got. I put them in one image. I used my photo apps to clean it up so it was nice and readable, which some of the big people found, and that's already like everywhere. It's been retweeted like 50,000 times from different people, and I recognize because it's exactly the way I set it up. Which and thing is, when I posted it, I didn't say anything. I didn't add context. I didn't say, well, here, you're wrong. This is proof. Look at this, blah, blah, blah. I didn't say anything. I'm just like, here's a piece of the puzzle. I didn't even say that. I just dropped it in there and waited, knowing what was coming. So yeah, if you're if you're on X and you're looking at these threads and you happen to see that right there, yeah, I did that. I set it up like that and dropped it in there. But no, I didn't add any. I'm just like, hey, people saying this stuff isn't happening. Now, no, it doesn't say anything about pets, but this is what is actually happening that I know from my friend that lives there. So I pulled in 2 people. They were both super nasty. Called me every name in the freaking book, projecting all sorts of crap on me. And interestingly, I kept within my preset boundaries. I do not have the trigger ego anymore. So when someone attacks me like that, like, I'm not having an emotional reaction and I'm not going to lash back out. I know what's happening. Okay, it's what we call the id entity. The id entities have been activated in everybody, and they're making everybody go freaking nuts. It's not actually that person. It's the id entity seeking conflict, seeking to drive the egos into more conflict. Now, the first guy calmed down ever so slightly, but when I brought up the whole thing about you just got to unplug from everything and fast from the world for 21 days and this, so he gave the response that a lot of people typically have, which is, well, I can't afford to do that because, I'm going to get deployed and it matters, who's in charge. I got a family to take care of and this, that. And okay, well, this is how you solve the Gnostic puzzle, but you're still attached to the world. So can't do much more there. But then there was the other guy, and he was nastier. Now, my initial read on this guy, at first I wasn't sure if he was a bot or not. Then I determined he was not a bot. But it was just, he called me every name in the book. And he was so caught up in his own illusion that he was projecting everything onto me. Keep in mind, I didn't do anything except share an image. But that's how the mind works. That's how the id entity works. It starts pasting things onto you. It's telling this person, this is who I am. This is what my intentions are. This is what I'm trying to do. This is the political party I like. All these things that aren't even there. And I just kept coming back to that. I did not get triggered. I didn't call him any names back. I'm just like, I didn't say that. Well, you posted this thing like it's supposed to be some big aha gotcha evidence. I didn't say that. I didn't say any of that. And it kept going back and forth like this for a while. And then he kept going today. And I just was calmly explaining things, matter of factly. I'm like, I didn't say that. You said that. Then he said I was gaslighting him. I'm like, how am I gaslighting you when I didn't say anything? Well, he tried to go back to this comment I made, which was basically like, look, when people are reacting to things that nobody said, they're reacting to their own imagination and they're got themselves caught in a loop. That's a factual statement. That's what was happening. Called me a couple more names. But then something interesting happened. I still stayed calm. He's like, well, then why did you do it then? I'm like, because there's this crazy thread going on right now where everybody's screaming about stuff that they can't confirm. So like any normal person, if you're trying to get to the truth of a story, you look for evidence that is confirmable. So I didn't share a TikTok video or anything like that. There's a video being shared around everywhere. It's like, oh, here's this lady eating at someone's cat in the driveway in Springfield, Ohio. That's not even Springfield, it's Canton. Yeah, it's Ohio, but people don't take the time to freaking check anything. I said what I did was I had a friend who actually lives in the city, see what he could find from a verifiable, traceable source, an actual piece of public record, a transcript of a 911 call and the communication with the police, to add what context could be added to the situation. It's merely a piece of the puzzle. It's not the whole puzzle. I never said it proved anything about cats or dogs. I got no evidence of that. It's like, this is what is actually happening. This is what people are actually saying. It's waterfowl. It's not cats and dogs. But something's going on there. But everyone's jumping up and down and saying that it's not happening because Orange Man said it. Orange Man said it, so it's a lie. And I saw him suddenly start to calm down, kind of like deflate. Like by me not punching down on him and just using logic calmly. It's like that ego mind, once it's triggered, it needs to find another ego mind to bounce back off of it, to keep that momentum up. And I wasn't feeding it. I was only pointing out facts, and I was pointing out to him how he was reacting to things and talking about things that weren't there. And I think he started to see it. And then I saw him calm down another level. He's like, okay, well, I just thought that, most people are on here just throwing stuff up here without any kind of water. I'm like, yeah, I get that. But that's why we try to put something out that's confirmable and truth, because we can't trust what we see on TV. And he calmed down a little bit more. And it's like, this is what she wanted me to see. Because if I had just judged him based on my first interaction with him, I would have said that this is one of those people that is beyond help. They're too far gone. They're crazy. Because that's exactly what he was putting out there. But because she had me do it that way, eventually I diffused that id entity. And he kind of like snapped out of the weaponized id entity and started to realize that no, I hadn't actually done anything wrong. I hadn't attacked anybody's politics. I hadn't attacked anybody personally. I hadn't made any outrageous claims. And all of a sudden it was like there was a normal person there. And then we went back and forth a little bit more about stuff. And it's like, holy crap. So what she was showing me was that underneath everything, there's a lot more people that we might normally assume to be beyond help. But when you know how the id entity adversary mind works, it is possible, doesn't mean it's always going to happen, but it is possible to short circuit it. And then once their mind clears, now it could have been because, you know, I'm rocking her too. Her energy was probably flowing through it as well. But it totally diffused his adversary mind to where this guy that was just throwing like the most hideous freaking insults at me suddenly came to his senses. And we started having like a halfway normal conversation, finding some things in common. But some of these people are simply too plugged into the matrix. They are consuming nonstop Black Mirror content, either through the TV, through their smartphone, their computer, their tablet, whatever, nonstop, 24/7 story of the world coming into their eyes. Orange man bad, orange man bad, orange man bad, orange man bad. These people hate you, these people hate you, these people hate you, these people lie, these people lie, these people lie, orange man bad, these people lie, these people hate you. It's mind control. It always has been. It always had, but now it is like hyper weaponized. And they do these things specifically to trigger people in different ways, and then sit back and watch them clash. You know, there are people out there making memes just because they're halfway funny. You know, all these Trump running away with the cats and the ducks and stuff, and I mean, they're funny. They are. And the people that are more toxic don't like funny. That triggers them even worse. But here we have somebody that I assumed, because, you know, at the height of it, it was directed more at the right. Once he completely defused, it was like he's more of an independent, and was finally seeing my side. It's like, yeah, you can't trust any of this crap. They all lie to you. Like, I don't trust any of it. A lot of times when you're dealing with really bad people, what you're really dealing with is the id entity, the inflamed ego, or as we've called it before, the demon that possesses people. Everybody has one until they get rid of it. That's what you're actually seeing. That's why they're so bad. But some people they've put themselves in positions where they're surrounded by other people like them. So they're constantly reinforcing each other. They're constantly plugged into the internet. So that thing is constantly being fed. The nastier people are, It doesn't matter what side they're on. If they're calling names, if they're screaming about stuff, if they're picking fights online, you're looking at a possessed person. That is what it actually looks like, not like The Exorcist. We've talked about this at length on this channel. The reason they show you things with Hollywood is to make you think that you know what these intangible things look like and what they are, when it's actually nothing like that. So you don't actually recognize it when you're looking at it straight in the face. But when you look at my story that I just told, I started off talking to the demon, and I did not feed it, and I did not react to it, and eventually drained its power, and the true person underneath of it came to the surface. And once he came to the surface, it was kind of like, oh, we can actually have a chat. That's what we're dealing with in this world. And that's why you can't put labels on yourself, and you can't buy into what the stories are that are coming through the black mirror. Yeah, you can travel anywhere. Anytime they tell you a negative story, you can travel there. And just like a video game, when you get there, it'll render. They talked about that in the Mandela effect, you know, how the world renders stuff. But up until that point that you do that, it's just a story. It is, there are no Haitian immigrants on my porch looking for jinx. It's just a story. But this is the level of freaking mind control. And honestly, it is irritating to me, especially if it's the more toxic side, to see them constantly, here's a meme I'm putting on Facebook about Kamala knocking out big baby Trump. Oh, I can't imagine what it must be like to live with that level of toxicity every freaking day. And I see it on the other side too, in different ways, in different flavors. If you feel like you need to fact check me on that, then that means it's affecting you too. I'm apolitical. I'm on team light. Okay? I don't believe in any human savior that's going to come save me and fix the world. But there are a lot of people that do. And they are setting themselves up for a massive disappointment. You think one man is going to take on the whole system, magically make it better? They are setting you up. They're setting you up. You should be focused on the light. You should be focused on connecting everything you can to what is inside of you, so we can wake up out of this before it comes crashing down, because that is inevitable. But if you continue to keep playing the world's game, you're gonna be stuck, because that stuff, that material, feeds the ego adversary id entity mind. And if it is in the forefront, you can't hear her. You can't. That will get in your way. So stop looking at it. Pay attention to what's driving. Because I saw it. I'm like, it was like this sticky, it was like this, ooh, this is my favorite candy. Let me just take a little taste of it. And I'm like, nope, nope. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. If it's driving you to conflict and fear and division and judgment, my side's good, your side's bad, you got work to do. You're still in the illusion. You're still in the trap. We're trying to get you out of it, which means you have to stop playing the game. You have to stop buying into it. And if you give an answer like that other guy did, where it's like, well, if I don't do it, then this person will get in and all this, it still got you. You still believe in the world. You still believe in the false world more than the real world. So be able to self-reflect, check yourself, see what you're thinking, see what you're doing. All right, I don't want this to go on too much longer. Get the point. With what she showed me, we determined some things about what the latest trigger event was, what we think the sneaky thing was. We think the whole cat dog thing was deliberate. And she pointed out how it's deliberate. Because it's like this one touchy spot that hasn't really been messed with yet. It's like, oh, they love their pets. Let's make them think that the Haitian migrants are eating their dogs and cats. Hell, maybe they are. I don't know. But that's why it was put into that format, so everybody would see it and everyone would start fighting about it. It's don't eat our pets versus orange man crazy saying stuff. Everybody's fighting. If you are involved in politics because you hate the other side, then you're not connected to this. You can't be. So do some self-checking. It's possible to make progress and then backslide. And getting involved in that stuff is the fastest way to do it. I've seen this political egregore mind trap stuff take down really big people. People that I would say have more spiritual prowess than I did at the time. I've seen them get sucked into it and go crazy for a period of time and start screaming at people about Black Lives Matter and all this stuff. It was crazy because there was this one person who was an early mentor that was going down to that Washington, D.C. rally back then. And she even told me that like there's like a groupthink factor, kind of like it. She was describing an egregore. It's like, if you're not careful, you can get swept up in it. Well, what happened? She went down there and she got swept up in it. And for a period of time, she pretty much went nuts. I'm like, what in the world is going on here? This is not the person that I know. Stupid white people. All this stuff is real. All this mind control stuff, it's all real. And if you just see it and be self-aware of what you're thinking, feeling, and saying, you can free yourself from it. But what you're going to have to do, if it's gotten bad, is you're going to have to unplug. If you want your phone, think of your mind as like a smartphone. And the only way to reset it is it's got to die. Well, if you want that to happen, you have to unplug it. And eventually, even if you don't use it, it'll run out of battery. That's what your mind's like. You cannot free yourself of this stuff and watch the mainstream media story of the world every day. It won't work because you're constantly charging it up. Remember, it was the last thing that I had to do, that I was told to do before Lumen broke free. Out in the open. Didn't even know she existed. But that was the last thing. Fast from the world. It's huge. It's one of the most important things you could possibly do. Okay. So if you like our message here, you want to support the channel, click on Buy Lumen a Coffee in the description box below. If you want any of our energy pendants, I got to add some more tonight. I added a couple new ones there last night, but I had someone contact me wanting a bunch more after I got the first batch. So I ended up working on that last night. But I've got a lot more to put up. It's clumencreations.etsy.com. Chris and Lumen. See you next time.